Now, in all of the time that I've been talking about renters' rights, everybody, every landlord I've ever met has all been scared about the Section 21 loss, and I can understand why. But my biggest fear is rent increases moving forward, and it still remains my biggest fear in terms of the way we are going to be able to push up our rent moving forward. And I'm just going to explain to you why. So the rules are this now. You can only increase your rent after the 1st of May in one way. And that is using Section 13. You can't have a conversation and a negotiation and agreement. You can't do, oh, Nick, yeah, I agree, yeah, let's put the rent up. That can't happen. It's not a way that you're able to put up the rent anymore. You're not going to be able to put a rent review clause in a contract because they're all going to be null and void. So even if you've got a clause in your contract that says the rent will increase by CPI, RPI, whatever the case may be, annually, it's gone. It's null and void as of the 1st of May. The only way you can increase rent on a property is through a Section 13. And we have Section 13s now in the current world, and it is the way that we increase rent when tenants refuse to negotiate. So I call it our way of enforcing a rent increase rather than negotiating a rent increase. Negotiation is always better, but if you can't negotiate, you enforce. The difference between now and New World is this. Currently, we have to give 1 month's notice. Now we'll have to give 2. So double the period of notice. So what we need to start doing is every 10 months, we need to be reviewing in readiness for that service of notice annually. Yeah? 10 months into contract, review, check what's due, serve the notice in readiness for the 12-month period. Tenant can challenge via a tribunal. They still have the right to do that now. And many tenants do. I was just talking to this gentleman here. We, on his behalf, submitted we didn't. The tenants went to tribunal in April. Okay? We served Section 13. Tenant went to tribunal. You got a decision in October. 6 months for a decision from the tribunal. But that's okay in the current world because it was accepted. And the rent increase gets backdated to April. So that's absolutely fine, although his tenant has found another loophole and has appealed it again. That's another story. But in the new world, guys, what's going to happen is that we'll wait the 6 months for the answer, maybe longer, because if every tenant takes their Section 13 to tribunal, there's going to be a lot more of them in there for them to hear. If we are successful, the rent increase will not start until the determination date of the tribunal. So in the case that we're talking about of that landlord there, he's just lost 6 months of rent increase, although he has been successful.
That's not fair.
I know. So in the case of we have to wait 1 year to increase the rent, so we start to increase that rent 10 months, right? So new tenancy, 10th month, we serve the notice for it to kick in on the 12th month. Tenant raises a case with the tribunal. We're now 6 months down the line, maybe longer. So we're now, 18 months down the line, and the rent still hasn't increased. So this is what worries me the most, that actually the reality might be we won't be able to rent increase annually. It's more likely every 18 months. Because by doing what they have done, tenants that agree that what you're trying to increase the rent to is the right rent, but they know that they can kick it down the path and not have to start paying that rent until a few months' time. So my advice to you, and something that we are going to adopt as an agent, is this. Communicate with your tenants. Speak with your tenants, talk to them about rent increases like you would do now. Let's still be human. Hi, I'm going to be increasing your rent. I'm looking to increase it. It's due. It's an annual thing. I'm looking to increase your rent, and this is my proposal. What's your thoughts? Yeah, that's no problem. They say that your good tenants say, yeah, that's no problem. Still below market value, or it's about right. I'm happy to do that. Don't just take that as a given. You then need to serve Section 13, right, to enforce it. Tenant can still appeal it. Bear that in mind. But if the tenant comes back to you once you've served Section 13 and says, look, I don't want to pay that much, but I am willing to offer you 50 quid less, 25 quid less. Can we agree at that? Snap their hand off and agree something in writing that that's what you're going to do. So you can accept an offer from them after notice has been served at a lower rate, but you need to make sure that your paperwork is A1 watertight, because if you issue another Section 13, which is really by law belt and braces what you should do with the new agreed rent, they could still appeal that. So the best practice way is probably trying to just get a written agreement. The tribunal have their own, data and information as to what is determining, what will determine the market rent. But what is good practice and what we will do as an agent, when we are looking to do a rent increase, we will be sending out. Any of you ever had an agent come out and appraise your property and show you a book as to why your house is worth this much? Well, that's what we're going to have to give to the tenant. Look, this is why we're increasing your rent to this, because it is current market value or slightly below or whatever the case may be. We're going to just have to work a little bit harder to try and avoid those tenants going to tribunal. Now, again, think of it in reality. Lots of us have really good tenants that are just genuine like us that will not take advantage of this system. But there are lots of tenants out there that will. We carry out the conversation with the tenant. We'll serve them the Section 13 along with the supporting evidence. We've just got to bump it up a little bit, what we do, yeah. I honestly don't think there will be like a huge percentage. I mean, talking to somebody the other day, they said they reckon that about 85% of Section 13s will go to tribunal. I wouldn't think that there's that many tenants out there that would do that. What you've got to remember is if we do end up pushing the rent up in the market, right, because of this new, rental bidding malarkey, their choice, they might kick the can down the road. But if they become a really difficult tenant, you as a landlord, you're just going to say, do you know what? Sod this, I'm selling. And you'll just kick them out. Always my recommendation is that you only ever take it to market value maximum, because the chances are if you take it above market value, you'll lose in Section 13. There's also a lot of landlords that are so good that they think, like, the most I have increased somebody's rent by in the past 2 years is £500 a month. You're probably looking at me and thinking, Dawn, you're evil, right? But they have lived in that property, in a 3-bedroom detached property in Penderford for £550 since 2017. Am I evil? No. They have had advantage of living in a low-cost rental for all of those years because the landlord didn't want to increase the rent. Now she does. Actually, if you look at it in reality, he saved thousands. One of the things that I would say to all of you right now is the rules don't change till the 1st of May. If you can increase your rent, that has to be the number one thing that you go and do. And somebody asked me in the break, Dawn, how do we go about increasing our rent? Book that call. The guys and myself will be able to help you work on how you get that rent increased, because we want to do it now before the 1st of May if we've got an opportunity to do so. If you're in a fixed term, there's not much I can do to help you, because you can't increase in a fixed term. So increase your rents if you can.